My beloved brothers and sisters, in life, every one of us faces hardship, moments that shake us, moments that bring tears to our eyes, moments where we wonder if we will ever see the light again. But Allah, in His infinite mercy and wisdom, reminds us in the Qur'an, indeed, with every difficulty comes relief. Not after difficulty, with it. Meaning, your relief has already been created, it's simply waiting for the right moment to appear. Sometimes Allah places you in the darkness because He knows that it's in that very darkness you'll discover the brightness of your own faith. Your heart will learn to call out to Him in ways it never did before. Hardship pushes you closer to the one who controls every atom of your life. When Allah tests you, it is not to break you, it is to build you. A believer is like a diamond. The more pressure applied, the more brilliance it reveals. And Allah knows exactly how much pressure you can handle. He has promised that He will never burden a soul beyond what it can bear. My brothers and sisters, when you face challenges, don't say, why me? Instead say, oh Allah, guide me through this. Make me stronger because of it. That shift in mindset is an act of worship. It is a declaration of trust in the Lord, who has never abandoned you and never will. During hardship, turn to prayer. Even if your heart is heavy, stand before Allah and let the tears fall. Call upon Him with sincerity. Your du'as are never lost. They rise to a Lord who is most loving, most understanding, and most merciful. And remember to fill your day with small acts of goodness. Sometimes a simple smile, a kind word, or a silent moment of gratitude brings peace to the heart. No difficulty is permanent. No storm lasts forever. And if Allah brings you to it, He will surely take you through it. Relief is not only coming, it may already be unfolding in ways you do not see. So hold on. Be patient. Trust Allah's timing. The one who helped you through every challenge in the past will not leave you today. Your relief is nearer than you think. And when it arrives, you will look back and realize that every moment of struggle was preparing you for something greater, something beautiful. The promise of Allah that with every difficulty comes relief is one of the most comforting, hope-giving messages in the Qur'an. It is a verse that softens the hardest of hearts and brings light to the darkest of moments. When we hear this divine statement, it is not just a phrase to recite. It is a promise from the Lord of the worlds, the one who created us, the one who knows the depths of our struggles, the one who understands the silent cries that no one else hears. When Allah says something, it is not a possibility or a probability. It is a certainty. His promise is absolute. His words never fail. And this verse reminds us that no matter what we are going through, we are never stuck in a tunnel without an exit. There is always relief tied to the hardship itself, even if we cannot see it yet. Often, when we are going through pain, we feel as though relief is distant. We think we must wait for years before the ease appears. But Allah uses the word ma'a with not bad after. This means ease is already traveling alongside your hardship. It is growing with it, developing with it, waiting for the moment Allah has written for it to bloom. Just like dawn comes only after the darkest part of the night, your relief is waiting for the perfect time that will bring the maximum benefit to your heart, your faith, and your future. When you reflect deeply on this promise, you realize that the relief Allah sends is not always in the form we expect. Sometimes we expect the problem to disappear instantly, but instead, Allah strengthens our hearts and gives us the patience to endure what we once thought was unbearable. That strength itself is a form of relief. Sometimes the situation stays the same, but our perspective changes. We begin to understand that what we thought was a disaster was actually a door to something better. This clarity is also relief. At times, Allah brings people into our lives during hardship. People who comfort us, guide us, or support us in ways we never imagined. Their presence is relief. And sometimes Allah removes people from our lives during hardship, making us realize they were a barrier between us and peace. Their departure is relief. Allah's promise also teaches us that hardship is not a punishment. If Allah wanted to punish, He would not give us hope. Instead, the existence of this promise shows that hardship is a process of purification, elevation, and growth. A believer becomes closer to Allah in times of difficulty than in times of ease. When everything is going smoothly, we may forget our dependence on Him. But when life becomes heavy, our hearts naturally turn to the one who never turns away. Hardship has a way of wiping away sins, washing our hearts and pulling us towards sincerity. This purification is a relief that affects the soul even before worldly ease appears. Another profound aspect of this divine promise is that every difficulty carries within it multiple forms of ease. The verse is repeated twice in Surah Ash-Shar, and scholars explain that this repetition emphasizes that with one hardship, several types of relief come. It may be relief in the world, relief in the heart, relief in the hereafter, or relief in the form of lessons that protect us from future pain. Allah is so merciful that He does not allow a single hardship to pass without gifting multiple forms of benefit and ease. When a believer internalizes this promise, their entire outlook on life changes. They begin to understand that trials are not roadblocks but stepping stones. They stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is Allah teaching me through this? They realize that every sleepless night, every tear, every moment of confusion or fear is seen by Allah, recorded by Allah, and rewarded by Allah. And because they believe in His promise of relief, their hearts do not collapse under pressure. Instead, they develop resilience, gratitude, and trust. There are people who hit rock bottom and discover Allah in a way they never had before. That discovery becomes the greatest relief of their life. There are people who lose something they love deeply and then find something far better, something that brings more peace and joy than they ever expected. That is also relief. There are people who suffer through long periods of hardship only to later say, if that difficulty had never happened, I would not be where I am today. And that realization is a form of ease. Allah's promise means you should never despair. Your life can change in a moment. Allah can open a door that you didn't even know existed. He can replace sadness with happiness, confusion with clarity, weakness with strength, and loss with something more meaningful than what you had before. When Allah promises relief, you can trust that somewhere in your story, a beautiful chapter is already written for you. You just haven't reached that page yet. So hold tight to this promise. Let it be the light that keeps your heart steady through storms. Let it remind you that your Lord is with you, watching over you, and planning your relief with wisdom far beyond what you can imagine. Relief is not just on its way, it is already with you. Allah has written it, and Allah's promises are always true. Hardship is one of the greatest teachers in life, and when we understand it through the lens of faith, we begin to see that it is not merely something to endure, but something that shapes us, builds us, and brings out the best within us. Difficulties are not random. They are carefully designed by Allah to refine our character, purify our hearts, and draw us closer to Him. Many people assume that hardship is a sign of Allah's displeasure, but in reality, the opposite is often true. The prophets, who were the most beloved to Allah, faced the greatest trials. This alone shows us that hardship is not meant to crush us, but to elevate us. It is a process of transformation that molds us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate believers. When someone goes through a challenge, something remarkable happens within them. Before the hardship, they may have been unaware of certain strengths they possessed, or unaware of weaknesses that needed attention. A difficulty exposes both. It reveals what we need to work on, such as patience, humility, or self-control, and it awakens qualities we didn't know were lying inside us. Many people discover courage they never thought they had. Others discover resilience. Some find compassion for others going through similar struggles. Hardship stretches the heart in ways comfort never can. Life would be shallow and spiritually stagnant if everything were easy. Imagine a person who never faced pain. How would they learn empathy? How would their heart soften for others? How would they appreciate the blessings they have? Hardship teaches the value of gratitude. Before a person experiences sickness, they may take their health for granted. Before losing something, they may not recognize its worth. Hardship sharpens our awareness of blessings, making us more appreciative and grounded. When ease returns after struggle, it tastes sweeter. Relief feels more meaningful. Blessings become more noticeable. Another way hardship helps us grow is by redirecting us. Sometimes we stubbornly hold on to something harmful, or we walk a path that isn't meant for us. Allah sends difficulties as gentle, or sometimes firm, reminders that we need to adjust our direction. A setback may save us from a greater disaster. A loss may protect us from future harm. A closed door may push us toward an opportunity that is far better. But in the moment, because we cannot see the full picture, we may misinterpret the hardship as something negative. Only later, when Allah allows everything to fall into place, do we realize that the challenge was actually a blessing disguised as pain? Hardship also softens the ego. When life is smooth, a person might feel self-sufficient, independent, or overly confident in their own abilities. But when hardship strikes, it brings humility. It reminds us that we are dependent on Allah for every breath, every moment of peace, every bit of success. This humility is essential for spiritual growth. Pride hardens the heart, but hardship cracks it open just enough to let the light of guidance enter. Many people become closer to Allah through a difficulty than through years of comfort. They turn to Him in prayer, make dua with sincerity, and begin to feel His presence in their lives more deeply than ever before. Another powerful benefit of hardship is that it purifies the soul. It wipes away sins, cleanses past mistakes, and raises a believer's rank. Tears shed in sujood wash away the burden of guilt. Patience carries immense reward. Endurance through trials builds spiritual strength. A person who emerges from hardship often finds themselves spiritually lighter and more connected to Allah. This purification process cannot be bought or achieved through material means. It is a divine gift hidden within the struggle. Difficulties also teach emotional maturity. They help you understand your own mind and heart more clearly. You become more aware of your limits, your triggers, your strengths, and your vulnerabilities. This self-awareness is priceless. It helps you navigate future challenges with more wisdom and calmness. If every test makes you wiser, then every hardship becomes an investment in your future stability and inner peace. Another beauty of hardship is that it connects people. When you suffer, you understand the suffering of others. You become kinder, gentler, and more compassionate. You listen with more sincerity. You speak with more kindness. You become someone who can offer comfort because you know what pain feels like. Hardship shapes your character in ways comfort never will. It builds depth, it builds sincerity, it builds humanity. Ultimately, hardship reminds us that we are not in control, but Allah's. This realization is incredibly freeing. When a believer truly understands this, they stop fearing the unknown. Instead, they trust Allah's wisdom. They recognize that Allah sees the entire picture while they only see a single moment. This trust becomes a serenity that guides them through life. Growth born from hardship is one of the most precious gifts a believer receives. It may not feel like a gift in the moment, but once time passes and clarity arrives, a person often looks back and says, that difficulty shaped me. It made me who I am. It brought me closer to Allah. And that growth, that closeness, that maturity is worth more than any ease that comes without struggle. Patience and trust in Allah are not simply virtues we practice during hardship. They are lifelines that hold the heart firmly in place when everything around it feels unstable. Every believer at some point faces moments that shake their world. Moments where the plans they carefully built crumble, where the doors they relied on suddenly close, where the weight of life feels too heavy to carry. In such moments, patience is not about passively waiting for things to get better. It is an active, deliberate choice to stay connected to Allah, even when the path ahead seems unclear. It is the strength that keeps a person from breaking internally, the calmness that prevents panic, and the light that keeps them steady until relief arrives. True patience is not the absence of emotions. It is the ability to feel deeply hurt, confusion, fear, sadness, yet still restrain oneself from falling into despair or anger with Allah's decree. It is to say, "Oh Allah, I don't understand, but I trust you." When a person reaches that point, they experience a spiritual transformation. They realize that Allah is not testing them to destroy them, but to build them. The moment patience settles in the heart, the burden feels lighter, even if nothing in the external situation has changed. Trust in Allah, known as tawakkul, is the next step after patience. Some people wait patiently but with fear, worry, or emotional chaos. But a believer with tawakkul waits with the certainty that Allah is in full control and will never abandon them. Tawakkul is not simply believing that Allah can fix a situation. It is believing that He knows exactly how and when to fix it. It is understanding that His plan is always better than ours, even when His plan takes us through difficulty. This trust is built through understanding who Allah is. He's the most merciful, the most loving, the all-wise, the one who knows every detail of your life, your fears, your silent prayers, your disappointments, your dreams. When a person reflects on these attributes, their heart naturally learns to rely on Him. They stop trying to control what is beyond their capacity. They stop chasing after people for validation or support. They begin to place their expectations in the one who never fails them. This shift creates an inner peace that no hardship can remove. Patience and trust work together like two wings that help a believer rise above their struggles. Patience keeps the heart steady. Trust keeps the heart hopeful. Without patience, a person becomes restless and breaks easily. Without trust, even their patience becomes hollow and painful. But with both, a person can endure even the most difficult storms with dignity and grace. One of the profound beauties of patience and trust is that they transform hardship itself. When a believer practices sabr, the hardship that once felt unbearable becomes manageable. When they practice tawakkul, the fear that once controlled them turns into reassurance. Every hardship becomes easier when a person truly understands that Allah is with them, not just watching, but supporting, guiding, and comforting them in ways they may not even realize. Patience also protects a person from making decisions they will regret. Hardship often pushes people to act impulsively, giving up too soon, lashing out, or losing hope. But patience gives them the strength to pause, breathe, and allow Allah's plan to unfold. Many people look back later and say, if I had reacted out of frustration, I would have ruined everything. Alhamdulillah, I waited. Patience saves relationships, protects hearts, and preserves one's faith during storms. Likewise, trust in Allah helps a believer accept outcomes they cannot control. When things do not go as planned, those without trust fall into despair. They question their worth, blame themselves excessively, or think that life has turned against them. But a believer with tawakkul understands that what missed them was never meant for them, and what reached them was always meant to come. They understand that Allah's wisdom exceeds their own, and they surrender their worries to Him. That surrender is not weakness, it is liberation. Patience and trust also bring Allah's help. Allah promises in the Qur'an that He is with those who are patient. When Allah is with someone, they are never alone. He guides them to the right decisions, places peace in their heart, and supports them in unseen ways. People around them may notice that despite their hardship, their heart remains calm. This calmness is a special gift from Allah to those who trust Him. A believer who practices patience and trust becomes an example to others. They radiate peace not because life is perfect, but because their connection with Allah is strong. Their attitude inspires others to reflect, to turn back to Allah, and to find comfort in Him. Through their example, they become a source of light in the lives of others, often without even realizing it. When we look back on our lives, we often realize that the times we grew the most were the times we had to be patient and trust Allah deeply. Hardships forced us to rely on Him more sincerely. They pushed us to surrender our illusions of control. They taught us that strength does not come from having an easy life. It comes from relying on Allah through a difficult one. In the end, patience and trust transform a believer into someone resilient, someone calm, someone spiritually rich. They elevate the heart, purify the soul, and draw a person closer to Allah in ways comfort never could. And that closeness is the true relief in every hardship, the kind that stays long after the difficulty has passed. Every challenge you face in life, no matter how overwhelming it feels in the moment, is temporary. It has a beginning, and it most certainly has an end already written by Allah long before the hardship even touched your life. One of the most soothing truths in Islam is the understanding that Allah never burdens a soul with more than it can bear. This is not simply a comforting phrase, it is a divine guarantee. It means that whatever you are facing right now, whatever is making your heart feel heavy or your mind feel exhausted, is something Allah knows you are capable of handling, even if you do not feel strong at this moment. Hardships can sometimes make us believe that our pain will last forever. When days become repetitive and nights feel long, when solutions seem distant and support seems limited, the heart begins to whisper, will this ever end? But Allah assures us that every test has an expiry date. No storm is permanent. Even the harshest winter eventually gives way to spring. In the same way, your soul won't remain in the cold forever. Warmth is coming, even if right now all you can feel is the chill of uncertainty. One of the reasons difficulties feel unbearable is because they block our vision. We focus so much on the moment that we forget the larger picture Allah sees. We look at a single chapter while Allah sees the entire story. What looks like a dead end to us may actually be a turning point in our life. What feels like a loss may be a necessary removal. clearing space for something better. Hardship clouds our understanding, making the temporary feel permanent, but Allah reminds us that the situation you are in is not your final destination. It is just a step on the journey. Recognizing that challenges are temporary changes the way we experience them. It brings a sense of relief even while we're still going through the difficulty. When you know that a problem is bound to end, you naturally find more patience within yourself. You become calmer, more collected, and less overwhelmed. You start focusing not on how heavy the burden feels, but on how to carry it with dignity until the relief arrives. This mindset shift alone is a blessing from Allah because it protects the heart from breaking under pressure. Allah's promise that He never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear also means that the hardship itself is tailored specifically for you. It is not random. It is not meaningless. It is not a punishment. It is designed based on your strengths, your weaknesses, your future, and your spiritual growth. Allah knows the hidden potential inside you, and sometimes He uses hardship as a tool to bring it to the surface. People often discover their greatest strengths during their weakest moments. They find resilience they never imagined. They develop patience they didn't know they had. They gain wisdom that could only come from experience. This custom-designed challenge is also an opportunity for you to draw closer to Allah. Many people find that the times they turned most sincerely to prayer, the times they cried out to Allah with the deepest emotion, were the times they were going through difficulty. Hardship breaks the illusion of self-sufficiency. It humbles a person, reminding them that they need Allah at every moment. This humility is a blessing in itself. It softens the heart and strengthens the bond with the Creator. Because hardships are temporary, the lessons they bring often outlast the pain. Once the difficulty passes, and it will pass, you will look back and see how it shaped you. You will see how it taught you patience, gratitude, clarity, and dependence on Allah. You will realize that the hardship was a chapter of growth, not destruction. Pain teaches us in ways comfort never can. In moments of ease, we may forget to reflect inwardly, but in moments of difficulty, our hearts awaken. We begin to understand ourselves better. We see our priorities more clearly. We recognize what truly matters and what does not. And sometimes, we even become more compassionate toward others who are struggling because we know what suffering feels like. Understanding that hardships have an end helps the believer remain hopeful. And hope is one of the most important qualities a believer can have. Hope keeps the heart alive. Hope keeps the mind clear. Hope keeps a person moving forward even when the road is tough. Allah loves those who hope in Him, those who expect goodness from Him, those who trust that His plan is better than whatever they could plan for themselves. So when you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself that what you are facing is not forever. Allah has already written the moment your relief will arrive. It may come suddenly, like a door opening when you least expect it. It may come gradually, like the soft light of dawn spreading gently across the sky. It may come in the form of a solution, or it may come in the form of inner peace, even if the situation remains unresolved. Relief takes many shapes, and Allah chooses the one that your heart needs most. You may not know how long the hardship will last, but you can be certain that it will not last beyond what you can handle. And you can be certain that once it ends, and it will end, you will emerge stronger, wiser, and closer to Allah than before. Every pain has purpose. Every tear has meaning. Every struggle is a stepping stone towards something better. And the one who placed the hardship in your life is the same one who will remove it, reward you for enduring it, and replace it with something far more beautiful than you expected. When hardship strikes, the heart naturally seeks stability. It searches for something to hold on to, something that brings comfort and strength while navigating the storm. Islam provides practical tools that help a believer not only survive challenges, but grow through them. These tools are simple, yet incredibly powerful. Prayer, dua, gratitude, and acts of goodness. They are not merely religious rituals, they are lifelines that connect the heart to Allah, fill it with peace, and allow it to endure difficulties with hope. Prayer is one of the greatest sources of inner strength during hardship. Standing before Allah in salah forces the world to pause for a moment. It reminds you that no matter how heavy your burden is, you have a direct connection to the one who controls every solution, every possibility, and every outcome. When life feels overwhelming, even a single sincere sujood can lift the weight that words cannot describe. In moments of sadness or anxiety, placing your forehead on the ground in complete submission softens the heart and calms the mind. Prayer does not always change your situation immediately, but it changes your heart so you can handle the situation with clarity and patience. It reminds you that you are not alone and that Allah sees every tear, hears every silent thought, and knows every worry that you carry. Dua, on the other hand, is a conversation, a heart-to-heart with your Creator. It is the most intimate form of worship because it requires honesty. You do not hide your fears or pretend to be strong. You speak to Allah as you are, knowing that He already knows your pain better than you do. When making dua during hardship, a person experiences a unique type of relief even before the dua is answered. There is comfort in expressing your weakness to the one who is most powerful. There is healing in knowing that Allah listens, even when the world is too busy to notice your struggle. A believer who makes dua with sincerity often feels as if a weight has been lifted from their chest. Because dua is not just a request, it is a release. Gratitude may seem difficult during hardship, but it is one of the most transformative spiritual practices. It shifts the mind from focusing solely on what is going wrong to noticing what is still going right. Even in the darkest times, there are blessings that Allah places around us: health, shelter, faith, supportive people, or even the strength to wake up and face another day. Gratitude expands the heart and protects it from drowning in negativity. In hardship, gratitude becomes a form of light that guides you through darkness. It doesn't deny the pain you feel, but it balances it with awareness of Allah's mercy. Even saying Alhamdulillah during difficulty is an act of worship that brings reward, relief, and spiritual elevation. Doing good deeds during hardship is another powerful way to find inner peace. When someone is struggling, the natural tendency is to withdraw and isolate. But Islam encourages us to stay active in goodness, even when life feels heavy. Acts of kindness, whether giving charity, helping someone in need, or simply offering a smile, have the ability to heal the heart in ways nothing else can. When you help others, Allah helps you. When you ease someone else's burden, Allah eases yours. Sometimes being a source of comfort for others becomes the very thing that brings comfort to your own heart. Good deeds create a spiritual momentum that pushes away feelings of helplessness and replaces them with purpose. Another practical step during hardship is seeking knowledge and understanding. Learning about the wisdom behind trials, reading Quranic verses that speak of patience and hope, or listening to reminders can uplift the heart instantly. Knowledge brings perspective. It helps you see your situation not as an isolated tragedy, but as part of a divine plan filled with purpose. With knowledge, hardship becomes lighter because you begin to understand that trials refine you, not break you. Surrounding yourself with good company is also essential. The people you keep close during hardship influence your emotions.